Okay, guys. Once again, here we are. A little later than normal, but we should be on here a little bit. It depends on you guys. If you show up and we entertain each other, it'll work. If not, then we can all go to bed. Let's move some stuff off to the side and pick up kind of where we left off yesterday. Move these things out of the firing line. And I've got these tanks up here that needed to get decaled. I did that this morning with the decals that Marcus sent me. So we've got, and they have not been weathered, so that needs to be done to them. This is Panther 126. And the decals are a little out of register. I don't know if I'm actually going to fix that or not. I'm not too worried about it. Nothing's perfect, but you know, they're pretty good. We put microsol on them this morning, and I think they're going to be almost not noticeable. It's kind of hard to tell because there is some glossiness on there, but if you kind of look at an angle, it's almost like they've disappeared. They were kind of thin to begin with, so I don't suspect that's going to be an issue. But this is Panther 126, and this one had the 813 already on it. This Panzer IV H, but we had the crosses that we put down here and on the sides of the turret. So it looks slightly different than the J. I did that on purpose, just to kind of add a little bit of irregularity to them. I'll show you the J here. They're in a similar paint scheme. And obviously the J is 1/76 scale, and I understand the H is 1/72 or maybe even a large 1/72 scale. So the hull should be exactly the same size, and for some reason this guy's not wanting to sit in where he needs to be, which is strange because he doesn't have anyhow. This one has been weathered, so she's good to go. We just need to seal her, and it may be sealed also. I don't remember. This guy needs to be weathered. And again, these crosses are a little out of register. I'm not worried about it. So these two need to be, well, I can't mount him yet until it's sealed, so. And we need to work on the some of the detailed bags and stuff on the side of this Panther. So that's what we're going to be doing next, and weathering it, and I guess weathering this one also. Okay, so let's paint these little pieces on the Panther that are going to need to get like these bags and such, and then we'll see if somebody comes on and we can entertain each other, because I found some interesting things today, but you need to make sure that my regulars are here, and then we can talk about it, because you know, otherwise it's kind of wasted. It's something that I think I'm going to end up doing a program on, but those that tune in on a regular basis will get a leg up on that. Let's get the wet palette out. And we got some bags and stuff that are on here. 3 on this side, 1 on that side, and an axe handle, at least 1 axe handle there. So there's no doubt what we're going to do with that. So let's just go ahead and paint that axe handle. Just get it over with. We need to find beige brown, and hopefully that's the chocolate one. Nope. glasses on. It's 2 feet away or so. Is it this one? There it is. That's all I gotta do is be able to see. I had to check to make sure I did put the volume up. Well, I went through a time there that I had to rotate the video 180 degrees because it was showing everything backwards. And then it stopped doing it all of a sudden. And then it's back to doing it. And then it stopped doing it all of a sudden and it's back to doing it. And I don't understand it. I started up the same way each time. And I don't know. That's what the problem with these free programs is. You just have to put up with their bullshit. Because there is bullshit. It's coming. You maybe not have discovered it yet, but there's bullshit coming. You get just a few drops of white in here. Alright, that should solve that. Okay. There's that axe handle. We have a pack here and 3 on that side. Okay. Well, we're gonna paint 2 of these like they're Zeltbahn, but I don't put the camouflage scheme on it because it's too small. So we're gonna use that. Let me see if I can find. This should be easy to spot. Oh, I love it when that happens. Pull one thing out and 4 things fall. Pulled this thing out in a long time. Let's move it over here. And let's get this out of the view so it's something that's other than my huge freaking hand. Jeez, it's like everything's in the way. Well, I was fine going to bed. I figured, I could probably get something done. And there might be some people that'll come on. Okay, here's a khaki color, but it's damn near the same. There's like a German camouflage light gray, light something or other. And, I mean, I'm not specifically particular to that, but I think it would be appropriate to go with it. Everything is behind the screen here. Let's see which color this is. All right, let's do field drab for the first one, since I can't find that other one. It's there somewhere. I've got them tilted so you can see the bottom of them, but it's late too. One viewer, must be Rick. Am I getting Rick rolled? Well, I got something to share, and if it is Rick, it's not very useful to Rick. So, it's just something, World War II Panzer nerd burglary. Burglary. Okay, and then we're gonna lighten that up. I'm actually surprised how many people are night owls. Because I'm not worth a damn after like 10. Let's just paint them all the same color, and so I can get this yellow off of it. And then we can change it up a little bit if we need to. You know, this is the only one that has some signs of life. No, it looks pretty good. We haven't even highlighted it there. Nordic, welcome. You weren't the one viewer, you must be the new one. Yeah, I was waiting for some people to come on. I got some cool information I don't mind sharing with you guys, but it's gotta be the World War II nuts. Or it'll be, Chinese when I'm telling you. It won't make any sense. And I'm gonna make a video about it, but it might take me some time to do that. Glenn Casey, welcome. Glenn Casey, what are you into? Are you a World War II nut? Or are you just kind of doing a little bit of everything? I can't remember what you told me what you're working on. Didn't think you were going to be on tonight. Just happened to check just now. Yeah, I was going to go on earlier. I could have gone earlier, about an hour and a half. But the girls were out. And I'm like, well, maybe they'll come back and want to watch some TV or something together. So I won't bother getting on. I just got done doing some exercise, and then they got back and like, we're too tired. I said, well, I'm going to go on then. So anyways, we got I put the decals on that Marcus was nice enough to send me. So this is Panther 126. Which is kind of unusual. That last number is a 6. That's a pretty high number. That means that's a platoon with 6 tanks in it. That means two things. Either it's a platoon that has 6 tanks in it, which is unusual. It's usually 4 or 5 at the most. Or it's just a fake number to mess with the enemy. Working on Flames of War Soviets right now. Okay, so you're a World War II guy. Okay, that's good. Because I was doing some research over the last couple days, and I've come across some interesting stuff that I figured you guys might find interesting, and I'm probably going to make a video on it. Because some of this is probably covered in somebody's video, but the conclusions I'm coming to, I don't believe are. Readily available through many companies, 10... Don't need to deal with the absurd shipping from the UK. Yeah. So, in researching the Panthers, I have that book that I talked about earlier. I'm not necessarily stuck on Normandy. I'm a fan of the Eastern Front, but I don't necessarily want tanks that can only be used in one place or the other. This book right here. Panzers in the Battle of Normandy. Okay, so at the beginning of it, it's interesting. It tells you what the effective strengths were of the units. Okay, don't game, just paint. Well, you might find this interesting. So I kind of went through this the other day, and the conclusion I came to, if this is to be believed, the Panzer Regiment 1944 has 2 battalions in it, standard. And, all these units that were in Normandy, they were at full strength, pretty much, until the Allies showed up, and then they weren't at full strength. And they never got back up to that level in the Normandy campaign. But the one thing that's consistent in all of them is they have 2 tank battalions. Tank Battalion 1 is Panther equipped. Tank Battalion 2 is Panzer IV equipped, with the exception of the 21st. The 21st is just weird. I knew it was weird, but all of the other ones, the 1st Tank Battalion had Panthers, and the second one had Panzer IVs. Okay, and I wasn't expecting that to be consistent. So, I'm looking through decal ideas and pictures of painted Panthers and so forth, and models and things like that, and I start seeing this pattern Um, I'm not super familiar with the 1944 stuff because I'm mainly a 41, 42 gamer, building stuff like that. I mean, obviously, I knew that at this point, the establishment in 1944 was to have the two battalions that way. But I didn't know that the first one was always the Panther one. At least in the units that were in Normandy, the first one was always the Panther one in these Panzer units. If it was a 41 or 42, two battalions, they would normally have 4 companies. The first battalion would have 100 series ones and 200 series ones and 300 series ones and 400 series ones. And normally the 400 series ones were the Panzer IVs. Okay, because that was kind of the heavy unit. And likewise, the second battalion would have the 5, 6, 7, and 8th company. So you'd have numbers that were 501, 52, 503, 504, that would be like the headquarters unit. And then you would have 511 would be the command tank of the 5th company, first platoon, first tank. 511 would be the commander of the 5th company that would be in the 2nd battalion of in the 1st platoon. So I start looking. So I'm familiar with that, and I'm familiar with those numbers. So if you look at stuff in the Afrika Korps, for instance, you'll always encounter Panzer IVs will either have a 4 or an 8 for a number. They might have a single digit, which means they just give the company number on it, or they might have 813 or 824 or 823 or 801 if it's the commander of that company. So I'm looking at this 1944 description with the information that I found out the other day while we were live. And sure enough, all the Panther numbers that I see in Normandy all have either a 100, 200, 300, or a 400 series number. There aren't any Panthers I've encountered in Normandy. There might be some. I haven't seen pictures of them that have a 500 and something or 600 and something or 700 or anything else. It's either a 100, a 200, a 300, or a 400. And when you start putting it together that the Panthers are always in the 1st battalion, the 1st battalion is going to have the 100, 200, 300, and 400 series numbers. It all makes sense. It makes sense that it makes sense that if this is accurate, then it reflects that in the numbers. Now, that's not to say that some may have different numbers than that, because just of throwing people off. Because once they started, shooting up the commanders, they would. That's apparently what the story is. At the ranges, these guys engage each other. You're not like, okay, there's 3 tanks. Let me shoot at the one who's the commander. They're going to be like focusing on like who's got the most antennas or something like that, more than the turret number. It's not that noticeable of a difference. So that's one thing I encountered, and sure enough, if you look at all the Mark IVs in Normandy, whether it's the Panzerlehr Mark IVs or Hitlerjugend Mark IVs or First SS Mark IVs, they always have a 500, 600, 700, or 800 number. So I was interesting to find that. Now, I don't know why the hell this makes a 6 on the last one. I can't imagine a platoon having 6 vehicles in it. But that's the decal set that it came with, and I'm all right with it. But if I'm doing Panthers for Normandy, I don't want to use 621. And I don't want to use 261. In other words, scramble the numbers, which I could do, because you're not going to have 6 platoons in a company. But I found that information out. I don't know if you guys found that interesting, but go look at pictures of Panther tanks, go look at, pictures of tanks in Normandy. Forget the Tigers, because they're in independent brigades and stuff like that. But all the Panthers will have 100 series numbers, 2, 3, or 400 series numbers. And the Panzer IVs will have 5 through 8. So I thought that was really interesting. So I've kind of started making a list with pictures off the internet. It may take a while, by unit. Now, typically what happened is that, at least early war, when you had 2 battalions, and the 2 battalions were basically similar. You had 3 companies that had Panzer III, we're not talking about Poland or France. I'm talking like Barbarossa. You've got 3 battalions that would have a mixture of Panzer IIIs and Panzer IIs. And then let me rephrase that, because I don't think I said what I wanted to say. In each battalion, there was 3 companies, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd one, and the 5th, 6th, and 7th one, assuming it wasn't an oversized one, because there were some that had a 9th. So in the standard one, it's 1 through 3, and then 5, 6, and 7 that would have Panzer IIIs mostly, and some Panzer IIs in them. And then the 4th one and 8th one were reserved for the Panzer IVs. Of course, they'd be short barrel Panzer IVs. In that time period, what I have picked up in a couple places is each battalion had a different numbering system. Not a different numbering system, a different numbering style. So for instance, say the 1st battalion would end up having red numbers with a white outline. The 2nd one would have just a white outline. That's what I picked up. So I think I'm going to see if there's some correlation to that in 44. When things start going sideways and they start going into these ad hoc groups, that all goes out the window. But I don't necessarily want to do that from a standpoint of painting my guys realistically, which guys are going to be operating together, because I pick a smorgasbord of different things, but I generally want to know. I think it's interesting. Well, they did do the numbers to confuse the enemy, but that would have been, after you had contact with the enemy, Winter War? I have no interest in doing Winter War. You know why? The Finns don't have enough tanks. They have no tanks. The numerals that came with your Panther G are 113, 252, and 334. Well, go look for photographic evidence and see if you can find any Panthers in Normandy that have any numbers that are higher than a 400 and something. They won't have any that I haven't seen any that start with a 5, a 6, or a 7, or an 8. It's just kind of cool putting 2 and 2 together. Now, later on, if you talk about, I've seen some numbers and decal sets for some of the units that were on the Eastern Front, and they do have 700 series numbers. Maybe maybe that's different. But in Normandy, where we actually have this, that actually tells you that these units had 2 battalions, and the 2nd one has the Panzer IVs. It makes sense. So, like for instance, let's say you're going to build any of these units, 2nd Panzer Division, and you want to build some Mark IVs for the 2nd Panzer Division. They're going to have 500, 600, 700, 800 series numbers. So. Interesting stuff. So, okay. So we're painting these things. I just figured I'd show that. You might find that interesting, maybe not, but when I find some more stuff on that, I may make a YouTube video about it. But the problem with the YouTube video is there's always, everybody's an expert on everything. Well, if you're the expert on it, then why don't you make the video? None of my stuff is definitive. I'm seeing trends. So, just like there's some Panthers in Normandy, the Panthers that are in Normandy of the 116th Panzer Division, I did not know this. The 116th Panzer Division Panthers were off on training, and they had to borrow the Panthers from the 3rd Panzer Division, I believe is what it is. So the 3rd Panzer Division Panthers are the ones that are pretending to be, are the ones for Panzerlehr, or for 116th, not Panzerlehr. No, I already got that wrong. Panzerlehr had to borrow some too from the 3rd, and the 116th, the tanks they had, they didn't have access to them, so they ended up taking the ones from the regiment that had the jumping horse, which was rebuilt from Stalingrad, because the 24th was one of the ones that was destroyed in Stalingrad, and it was rebuilt, and so the Panthers from 116th Panzer Division would actually have a jumping horse symbol from the 24th Panzer Division on them. It's interesting stuff like that, you know. You're intending to paint the Panther up with a scheme taken from Dompierre, France, September 44. That's kind of that time period where not a whole lot of activity happens, or hardly anybody war games that after the Falaise Pocket stuff in France. You know, the battle for Metz and all that stuff. In Lorraine, usually September, it's like, oh, that's Market Garden month. The whole month of Market Garden. The scheme is Panzer Brigade 112. I don't know shit about the Panzer Brigades. They didn't have any unit symbols, did they? Shows that one because the reach of the unit was decimated by Allied air power. The commanding officer failed to properly camouflage the panzers and they got bombed to hell. I would love to get some brush on these, and there's somebody that makes it, and I can add that afterwards and it'd be removable and stuff, but especially like the Jagdpanzer and the Stugs, you know. I think that's right down their alley. The alley of the Stugs. Speaking of alley, Now there are some decal sets I've seen on the Eastern Front in Poland and stuff like that for some of the units that were all the way out there. Like Viking, and I want to say the 4th Panzer Division was always out on the Eastern Front. And they have some Panthers with some higher numbers. But, over there it could have been, could have been different. There's, I don't know if you guys have used Reddit much. I haven't much at all. I just, in this last year, I've just kind of gone on there and posted some things on there and looked at some of the groups. And they got a group that's called something like World War II Tanks or something like that. So I figured, oh, this is going to be full of people that know about tanks. Oh, there's some people that are clueless on there. It'd be like if I joined a Reddit group for cooking. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. They got some folks that are just throwing around their opinion and they don't really know anything. Like I mentioned yesterday, there's just too many people that just are, it's almost like they're afraid of saying they don't know something. There's lots of things I don't know, you know? It's it's really interesting, the convention that is coming up. There's two people running some World War II games that look kind of interesting. I'm not going to play either one of them, but it looks kind of interesting. One of them is a guy running something in 20 millimeter. Like, that's pretty cool, but it's O group. And the problem with O group is I don't want to play a game that has people on a stand, figures on a stand, on with that big of figures. I could do it maybe with 15s and smaller, and 20s are just too big to have on a stand for my taste. That's not the kind of game I want to play. And the other guys are actually playing individual figures, but then they're using. Oh, and they're doing a game called Battle. It's not Battlefront. It's the British Battle Group. They're playing Battle Group, and they have individually based figures, but it's 28 millimeter. So it's like, can we like flip them? How about you play O Group in 28s, and I'll play Battlefront in the 20s. Battle Group, whatever the hell it's called. But maybe they'll have something cool to take pictures of. But one of the guys that was playing Battle Group was reason he said he had switched over to it because they were doing bolt action. He said bolt action to vehicles were very basic. I said, well, they don't cost very basic. When you buy the big tank, they're pretty expensive. Said of Germans and foxholes on eBay. I wonder if they're the. Oh, okay. You're doing 15s. Yeah, I don't know what they are. I was gonna say maybe they're AB. Because AB makes some half figures with guys in foxholes, and they give you the white metal foxholes as well. I've got some laying around here. I've had these a long time. And the nice thing is you could actually fit, well, you fit a couple guys in there. And then we've got some of these bunkers. I've got two, I got four of these things. Two-man foxholes or what have you. Two-man entrenchments. That should be easy to paint once I get around to it. And then I got these I've also had for a while. I started painting that. And it comes with a roof. Like a machine gun position. It's got a firing slot out there. Get 2 or 3 guys in there as well. You don't have to physically fit in there. You know, you can put a little card off to the side. Hey, these guys are in. Don't fall on the ground. It's too late to be fumbling stuff. Don't be a fumblefuck. You had to choose between Autumn for Barbarossa or Poland Defiant 39, which should go as far as a hex encounter game. I'm not interested in Poland at all. Yeah, I'm not interested in Poland at all. What's Autumn for Barbarossa? And I'm not familiar with any of those games either, because I'm not in the know of board games. They have a board game that I don't think looks very good, aesthetically, called Second Front. I know it's for computers, so you're not going to play it, but it's supposed to be 90% ASL. Well, the good thing about buying things through Steam is you can try it for a little bit, and if it's the interface you don't like it or something like that, you can return it and get your money back pretty easy. Yeah, I left this out here percolating, didn't I? While I was looking at the foxholes. Well, now we got our friend, the hand sanitizer. Take that stuff off. I'm glad I actually found something that takes the Agrax Earthshade off. That stuff is a pain to get off your fingers. And it's sticky too. I've done the Agrax Earthshade, put a guy down, some of it dripped on here. I went and picked it up and cardboard came with it. I had to rip it off this cardboard. All I know is I'm loving this AK paint to airbrush with. It's like a breeze. It's like snag free. You know, I would love to play a Barbarossa game that has counters that are small, that are divisional size probably. But God, I don't want to sit there and set it up. Nobody would be interested in playing that kind of stuff, you know? Nobody around here. I've played those kind of games on computer and I like them. Ones where you can like encircle people and shit like that. But like I said, I think the computer handles stuff. Anything that involves supply, the computer can do it so much better than you can. You know, because you can end up doing a math error by accident. You know, you end up playing an illegitimate game. You know, not necessarily doing it on purpose. There's just a lot of moving parts. Divisional level, yeah. So that's that would remind me of that computer game that I played many, many times called Second Front. I had a friend of mine who was in the late 80s who was really into the Europa series, and we played the Mediterranean one once. But that game is so difficult for new players because there's just so much abstraction and stuff. So many things are like abstract. And I'm not really a fan of games that have a lot of abstraction. Yeah, I can imagine it's a huge footprint. Is it a good looking map? Large emblem. What was the large emblem? Was it like a lightning bolt and a cat? Because that's the one that shows up everywhere, and that's like one of the command vehicles of First SS. You know, there's some things that happen in vehicles that they did. You know, you don't have to paint them that way if you don't agree with them. I don't really like the bear that the 3rd Panzer Division used. I don't like it. I think it looks stupid because they're the only ones that have it and nobody else has that kind of a... Like, it's not the divisional symbol. It's almost like an additional symbol. I don't know. I don't care for it. And you know, I don't want to paint stuff that specific to a division because then, you know, if I'm using them somewhere they weren't, something in the back of my head's going, you know, they shouldn't really be there if you're going to paint them like that. Yeah. Well, the Panthers had symbols. They had stuff like that, but that was a curse thing. And then other than that, I don't think they really used any. Other than that one particular unit, there's one of the factories, if I remember correctly, the Panthers always put their the cross down here, except one factory. I don't know which one it is, and they actually put it on the turret side. So almost always you want to put it down here, which, you know, you can't really do it if there's no space for it. So. Yeah, I've got one of those decals, I think, in my set for that lightning bolt. It's just too big, and it's a certain commander's tank too. That was at Normandy. So I was thinking, I'm never going to use this in a million years. Here it is. Is it this one? This has a panther surrounded by a circle, and there's a lightning bolt in the middle of it. And it's one of the regimental commanders. It's this RO2. It's the RO2 tank. So big Nazi man. Ooh, you know. I'm just going to keep all these sacks the same color. They probably were anyways. You know, made out of a similar material. On your picture says RO2 in Normandy. Yeah, that's the one. That's a famous tank. It was like basically one of the regimental commanders of the 1st SS. Had that tank. Yeah, it was kind of a unique vehicle. I'm sure there was other unique vehicles like that. There isn't a whole lot of photographic evidence of it. Like the back of this thing, it looked like it took a hit and it shattered the jacks there. Whoops. Well, these guys that make this are no longer in business, so there's that. Okay, let's put this away in one of these two things, and then probably we're going to go grab some shut-eye. Yeah. I don't see ever doing any regimental vehicles. It's just too specific to certain people. You know, then you got to paint a vehicle a certain way, or I feel like I have to paint a vehicle a certain way, and ain't nobody got time for that. U.S. Field Drab. What's your thoughts on a 15 Plastic Soldier Company 15 millimeter managers? The infantry, I don't know about the 15s, but the 20s they make are kind of a mixed bag. They're done like in a different style than the tank commanders are. I can't really say. I am a big fan of their vehicles. I am a really big fan of their vehicles, actually. I think they're, you know, they don't make everything. But they're not into everything. But if they were, I'm a big fan of their stuff. I can't really speak for the infantry. I know that the 20s sometimes look a little, their heads look a bit roundish for my taste. Yeah, I don't like that Plastic Soldier Company says, you know, Italy coming soon and all this stuff. It's like, well, when is that? You've had that for a couple of years now. $33. They have all the weapons that belong in the infantry battalions, and one box sets gets all you need. Okay. Let's just do this one. You know what? I'm stopping for the night. I'm really, really tired. I don't want to do something stupid and screw this thing up. Well, not screw it up, but, you know, create more work for myself and have to fix it. So, anyhow, we will probably catch you guys tomorrow, I would imagine. And we'll see you soon. All right, folks.